Hi guys, I'm going to do a quick little tutorial. Here I just wanted to show, I had some students earlier this week and we were working on this project, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn this circle into a solid round object. You're asking me how we're going to do that because it looks like a quite flat circle. What we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a sphere. How we're going to do that is by some techniques known as shading. I think for this tutorial we'll probably do some cross-hatching. Cross-hatching and hatching is a way of shading just by doing a series of lines. Going in one direction is hatching. Cross-hatching would be changing the direction, I guess, right? So just back out of this. Now I'm using Illustrator. I think this is CS6, and everything that I'm doing here on the computer, it can also be done just with a regular pencil on a piece of paper. Not just today's technology. I figured I'd do the tutorial this way. So we're going to start off. We're going to have a light source. So right now our light is coming from this direction, and it's going to be hitting our object. We'll just follow the arrow. It'll hit the object right around this area. So anything past this is where we're going to start our shading. Down here would be the darkest part of our circle. This would be our core shadow. Then down here, the light will be hitting our object, our ball, so to speak, and it will create a cast shadow on the bottom. So the cast shadow and the core shadow are going to be roughly the same darkness. The core shadow is on the object, and your cast shadow is cast from the object. Down here we're going to leave a little white space, and this white space is actually reflected light. So the light is actually hitting our subject, and it's also hitting the table on which our subject is on, and it's actually bouncing up off the table, and it's hitting our object right here. And this simple little white space is going to give it the illusion of being solid object. So all I'm doing is I'm starting off, we're going in same direction as the sphere, and as we're getting further away from the light, it's going to get darker. Right? So right around here is where our core shadow is going to be. And I think my line work is still quite bold compared to what I wanted to do. And I think right here is where a good spot to start filling it in darker. And we just kind of feather this in a little bit. And there we go. So here's our core shadow. Fill it all in. And as we're getting closer to our light source, we are spreading the lines out a little further. And we're going to spread our lines out just a little further. And we can just add a few little areas here. I don't want to get too close to that edge. And there. So now we'll come down here. Sometimes it helps to kind of put make it look like we're on the table. So we'll put a couple lines in. It's kind of like your horizon line. And then down here, to make it look like it's sitting on the table, what we'll do is we'll put the cast shadow in. And your cast shadow is usually quite dark, depending on how strong your light source is. There we go. And we can probably even stretch that right off the page, depending on how far away the light source is from the object. Whether it's further down on this side, it would stretch it out, as opposed to if it was right up close. If it was right up close, this cast shadow would probably just end right about here. But we're just making it up as we go along. There we go. And we're just going to kind of tinker away with our little hatch marks. By the time we're done, we're going to have something that looks like a three-dimensional object. Yeah. And that's all I wanted to show you guys. Just because it happens to be one of the things that I teach in my classes. It's not the prettiest, but it is what it is. It's work in progress. I don't expect anybody's to be, a glorified sphere starting off, right? Another thing we can do is just take an eraser and just kind of go around our object, picking up a few of the little mistakes here and there that we had made. Just kind of cleans it up. We're going to shrink our eraser down using our bracket key. The big bracket and the little bracket key will either make it larger or smaller. But if you're doing this on paper at home, just a regular eraser works. I very well could have set up a camera and actually taped, filmed my hand on a piece of paper, but I figured this was a fun little tutorial that we were going to try. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. First attempt. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get it correct. Nothing ever turns out right the first time. Just like this. Darkest part of the shadow, or the object, is our core shadow. And that is good enough for this guy. Good enough for the tutorial. And there we have our nice round object. And it helps to go in the direction on which your object is, very straight lines, straight up and down, probably wouldn't be the best if you're working with a round object. We tend to want to use the natural curve of the object when you're drawing, natural curve of your hand. It makes a nice swoop. Right. And that's all we're doing here. We're just going with the natural curve of the roundness of the sphere. And that about wraps it up. So we have our light source. We have our highlight. We have our, we'll call these our midtones, which is midway Some people call them halftones. It's midway between your highlight and your core shadow. It's all the shades in between. These are your mids. It's not quite bright, it's not quite dark, it's in the middle. We call it mids. Your mid tones. Tones. Then we have our core. We have our reflected light. And here we have our cast shadow. Shadow. And these are the elements that will take a flat object and give it that three-dimensional appearance of being able to hold something in your hand, or making it look like, you know, like it is on a table. You can do this technique with any shape, triangles, squares. You turn the triangle into a cone. You turn the square into a cube. It's all basically adding the line work to create the illusion of depth, to create the illusion of roundness, to create the illusion that it's actually illuminated. Right? Great. Thanks for watching.